Welcome to GigaBrain, brought to you by Spell Labs. This is the podcast where we speak to the smartest minds across the DeFi space, exploring the ideas, innovations, and people shaping the future of crypto.
Okay, and we are back to another episode of GigaBrain podcast. Today we are here with two mega legends, two giga chads, really, Kurt and Andy, both from HypurrFi. HypurrFi is one of my favorite projects, really. They are building something great. They're actually building so many things, like I cannot even count. And I'm really looking forward to know all the technicalities of this project, everything that you guys are building. And for me personally, one of the most exciting things that I see is definitely the Pokémon cards. And I even brought here a couple of my collections. So I have PSA 10 Charizard here to show to the audience. I have a Beckett 10 also Charizard card here to show to the audience. So I have many more, but I decided to bring these two because like I'm a hardcore Pokemon collector myself and Yu-Gi-Oh collector. And I was even asking Kurt, like, if I can buy some of your cards after you do the token, or how does it work? And let's dig into that deeper, because I'm very interested, especially as a collector myself, an investor. So that's a really exciting way. Anyways, so I met these two gentlemen in two different parts of the world. Kurt was my sidekick during Argentina, and we pretty much conquered that country together, which was amazing. And Andy, I met him in a very curated event, Hyperliquid event in Korea, where everyone was making so much noise, and Andy comes up to the stage and say, "I'm not shy, shut up, I want to hear these speeches." And that's how I met this guy. And Andy's like the most rock and roll hardcore guy ever. And man, I'm so excited. Without further ado, Kurt, Andy, who are you guys? And why are you in crypto? Why crypto is important? And most importantly, why HypurrFi is important for you?
Great to be here. Thank you so much. Thank you for telling the tale. So in Korea, so there's this Hyperliquid event, and Jeff, the founder of Hyperliquid, is getting ready to talk, and the Koreans are trying to introduce him, and they get up on stage and patiently wait for everyone to be quiet. And it's a room full of crypto bros who have had a couple of beers, maybe even, and are yapping. And that's all we do, is we get together and we yap at these conferences, and people wouldn't shut up. And I could see our Korean hosts like getting more and more nervous, because social pressure is like how they get everyone to behave in Korea, but social pressure just does not work on Americans, right? And so I got up and I yelled at everybody, because I do have a little bit of a background on stage, and so I'm not shy. And that is that's one of my defining characteristics, I suppose. But yeah, so anyways, I'm Andy. I've been in crypto for 7-8 years. Something like that. Before crypto, I was a professor. So I was a professor of communication. I studied video games. So my library, you commented on, I got a couple of books back here. I'm in a couple of them, so I should say, as well. But I was a researcher and instructor. I had my PhD in media research. I was tenured. I was the chair of my department. I climbed the ladder. I did this stuff. And I realized at some point that I wasn't actually building new technologies. I was teaching about them, but I didn't know what was actually happening. And I was always really interested in like venture and new tech too. And like, I was broke. I'm like still kind of a brokey, but I was like, how do people do that? How do they like just make money building new things? I feel like I could do that because I had insight into all these sorts of things. And so I started just journeying down different pathways, which led me to crypto, blockchain, and Bitcoin in 2017. And it occurred to me really fast, especially once I figured out what was going on Ethereum. Oh, you can build apps with this. Oh, this is like an app store that's verified by everybody. Cool. And it was that simple and clear to me that, oh, well, if you can do that, then capital formation here happens naturally. And like all the after effects, I was like, I'm in. Let me figure out how to be a part of this. And so I ended up leaving and I worked for fintech. They wanted to do a blockchain play, and I did that for a while. And then I started, I got COVID laid off from there, but I had been involved in crypto throughout. And then that was 2020. And so I stayed at home and I learned DeFi and eventually did writing and research for Chainlink. I had my own podcast. It's still up on Spotify. You can find it, and YouTube channel, and just got good at talking about crypto and learned the ropes about DeFi in particular and infrastructure and all the stuff that goes on with building. Over time, I founded my own project that in the bear market that didn't work out, but it led me to meet the founders of HypurrFi and Last Labs. Last is our parent company. And so we set out a couple of years ago, like 2 years ago now, to build something. And I joined as employee number one. I forced myself onto them and joined as employee number one and helped grow this to what it is today. So we'll get into the story of like how we found and chose Hyperliquid as well. But, my core is as a researcher and communicator. So like I understand things, and I kind of like the guy from Game of Thrones. I'm drunk and I know things. I learn things and I don't know them well, but I learn things and I figure out how to explain them pretty well. That's kind of my superpower. And I've been doing that for a long time. So we'll talk about Hyperliquid and HypurrFi in a minute, but I'll let Kurt intro himself as well.
Perfect. Kurt, go ahead.
Yeah, so my background is actually initially from esports. I was a professional gamer before this for about 5 years. I was actually rank 1 in Black Ops 4, rank 1 in Apex Legends, and then I played Valorant on more of a content creator team for the last couple of years there, but I was still very highly ranked, right? It was something that I had done right out of college, also straight out of the COVID years. Everyone's stuck inside. No better way to do what you want to do than play video games with your friends. And, it pays to be the best, I suppose. So I started rotating into finance kind of after that started winding down, because after COVID, esports kind of took a bit of a dip because everyone started going back outside again, which makes complete sense. And so I also started learning about crypto and DeFi. My initial journey started at Magic Eden with NFTs. I feel like, as most retail users, you either start with like NFTs or meme coins or some growth vertical there that kind of captures you because you see these massive gains. For me, it was NFTs at the time. So I had made connections through Magic Eden, started working there and doing BD for them on new chains. I worked with Bearchain, Abstract, Monad releases for a little bit there. And then I decided that I wanted to get into the more serious side of like crypto and finance and things in general. So I started heavy studying DeFi at the end of 2024. And then kind of similar to Andy, I found HypurrFi at the beginning of 2025. Same thing, around the same time as Hyperliquid, identified the best teams out there on the market. And I kind of did the same thing that Andy did, and I just kind of forced myself upon them. I said, hey, here's the work that I'm going to do for you guys. This is how I'm going to do it. And these are the times that I'm going to show up. I'm going to do all the work and show up here, and forced myself on the HypurrFi team and made them accept me. At threat of stopping all the work that I was doing. So, and grateful, super appreciative to them. Can't wait to talk more about what we're doing, but kind of the background there.
Amazing. No, that's like the perfect hardcore BD story, right? You just go straight into the trenches, you do it, and then you are in the middle of the war. So congrats. Anyways, guys, so going straight into HypurrFi, if you can explain what HypurrFi is, and why it's important, why building on Hyperliquid, and what is HypurrFi? So for the first-time listener.
Yeah, the most straightforward HypurrFi is trade, earn, spend. And really, it's a toolbox for traders mostly to use their money to make money. And not just make money, but use their money. And that's really critical for us. So those are really like our most like core beliefs. And when we think about the products that we bring to market, what we're doing is letting people trade, making the best tools to let them trade, letting people earn, giving them the option to earn and use their money, and letting people spend, like use their money in a way that is native to them and most easy. So that's what HypurrFi is. When we launched, we were launched day 2 of the EVM being live on Hyperliquid. So we had seen Hyperliquid for quite a while, knew the EVM was coming, deployed on testnet, and the base product is an Aave v3 lending pool. So it is a very comfortable peer-to-peer lending pool where you deposit assets in. Those assets are collateral, and you can borrow against those assets, other assets, to either make a trade or do whatever it is you want with those assets. Most of our users are traders, and so they're people who didn't want to sell their hype. They don't want to sell their Bitcoin. They don't want to sell their ETH or Sol. And so they want to borrow stable coins and go buy more hype or go trade or go, take a risk otherwise or go earn. And so that is like the core base use case of where, most of, when people kind of look at top line numbers, TVL and that sort of thing, that's most of what people are doing. But as we got to know our users and really understand what they wanted to do, we started adding features for them. And so, for example, we have isolated markets. Isolated markets are another type of lending market that let us do more risk assets. So we can't put like these crazy derivative PT tokens and weird stuff in the pool because we don't want bad debt in the pool. We don't want, weird correlations among assets that are borrowed and lent in the pool. That's how you maintain sort of risk security. And so we have these other types of markets that are essentially like these risk islands. It's a little bucket of risk that's kind of by itself, but people can still participate and do borrow and lend sorts of behaviors. So that is HypurrFi. Like it is this sort of core idea and a team of deep DeFi OGs that are going to build it.
Why Hyperliquid and not building on any other echo?
So really core, before we started building on Hyperliquid even, like our core philosophy is genuine users, genuine revenue, real money. We do not buy TVL. We do not inflate numbers. We do not do KOLs. And so when Hyperliquid kind of came up and we saw what was happening here, we saw real traders. And it's not just the loudest farmers on crypto Twitter, is we talk to the market makers, the hedge funds, the proper shops that are doing massive trillions in trading volume in trad markets that are dipping their toes in crypto because of Hyperliquid, its execution and its liquidity. Yes, let's build here. That's why Hyperliquid. It's as clear as that. And we've been able to build a revenue generating protocol and company on that because our users are real. We're not spending for people to come and deposit and camp out and pretend we have inflated value. We can rely on real users and they're traders.
Perfect. So one of the questions that I have here for you guys is, what is really the difference between HypurrFi and other lending, borrowing DeFi protocols out there? And so do you say that it's the real users, it's the real experience? How do you define that?
Yeah, that's a piece of it. Absolutely. And we're committed and dedicated to that. And we've got this long history in crypto building. We're older. Besides Kurt, we're a little older. I'm older than I look. And we've got some experience in the trenches that we bring that to bear. And so when we take a look at who our users are, like we have a ton of former founders, successful and less successful, such as myself, but a ton of former founders who have come and built and really thought about who is our target market. It's not everyone that's really important. Some lending protocols, I think Aave is a great example of a great product. It's a competitor technically, but a great product that is made for a broader swath of users who are not as active. We know our users are very active. So while we have our Aave lending pool, as we continue to build products, it's thinking about, well, what are their specific needs? So these risk islands, these isolated markets, that's an example. Our card product, our spend product, it is for a very particular kind of user that's making a trade. Our card users are traders. They're not just average Joe, spenders out in the world. And so we tune our markets, we tune our product, and we tune our community and our comms ideally for that as well.
Perfect. And what is the role of the community and the feedback that you have from your community? How does that play on HypurrFi future and design and roadmap? Like, do you take very good care of the community? For you, the community is something that is really important, or you believe that no, it's a purely institutional and you don't need so much community? Like, I'm curious to know about that.
For us, community is, it should be the focal point of pretty much any project, right? Like they're doing your testing, they're telling you, giving you immediate feedback on which of your products are good, which of your products are bad, how you're doing in relation to competitors, right? So, we have open feedback channels. I think we might be the only project that has a Telegram channel that is open and you can communicate with Andrew or Andy or myself or anyone on pretty much an instant basis. I don't think I've seen a founder that has talked as effectively and quickly to everyone. Like I could probably message in that Telegram chat right now and get a response from the CEO and founder, Andrew Lloyd, in like 10 seconds. It is actually insane.
Yeah, I'm in that channel and I actually see you like piping all the time.
It's crazy.
It's very true. Very true.
You have to focus on that.
Yep,
And
yep,
that's
yep.
something we take super seriously. Whether that's through support, which we've had to rework a bunch of times due to random things, or just being active at any time. There really isn't anyone that we won't take seriously. And I mean, some of our best ideas just come from like a random spot, like someone pops into your DMs and they're like, hey, why not this feature? Right. And we're like, wait, why not that feature? Right. Like collateral swaps, debt swaps, all like the fun stuff comes from these people that are like, hey, I wish I could do this. And you're like, well, I kind of wish I could do that. And then we just do that. Right. That's another advantage that we have at HypurrFi is we are an extremely like agile team. We're willing to consider a bunch of things. You said at the beginning of the podcast, we have 15 different verticals coming down the line, right? And they're all structured and we make sure that we're doing the right things. But we're willing to pivot and do what is necessary and actually like useful for our community at the same time.
Yeah, the Pokemon product came from community feed, like chatter and DMs, and then turned into groups and then built out. Something to note about community, like our most public channels, you'll see those are not our only community feedback channels. So a lot of our users are whales, and they prefer not to say, hey, my 9-figure position or is in, help me out. But they DM us directly, and we have open comms with a ton of traders who are very active. And they'll let us know, hey, I got to withdraw. I got to shore up my position. I'll be back, or I hope I'll be back, or whatever it is. Or can you please help get Solana deposits because the rate on borrow is too high right now. So just send out a tweet, help me out. And so all of those channels are incredibly important to us. We if we're not paying for TVL, then we're talking to users. And if you're not talking to users and you're trying to run a successful business, like what are you doing? Like there's just no way to run that. So absolutely, community serves as multiple lines. Now, your other question was interesting though. You said, is it all community based or is it all institutions? It is both. We have tremendous inbound from institutions because we have yield, and I'm not creating the yield, but we have it. And it's like, how do I get the yield? I have assets. I got Bitcoin. I got Hype. How do I get yield? And so we do end up doing a lot of work. That's a lot of what the growth work is how do we set up a structure so that large depositors or small, like any depositors really, can get access to that yield. And if they're traders, which most of them are, or like from some sort of financial trading background, well, how do we structure these in a risk-adjusted way that meets security and compliance standards in many cases? And how does that go forward? So when you kind of take a look at our however many product lines are coming down the pike, a lot of it is that. It is for these different sort of segmented use cases, some of which may be massive, right? That we want to be compliant so that entities that need compliance can come and participate. Some of it is also like fun stuff like Pokemon. Like, okay, I don't know that that'll do a ton of volume. Maybe it will. And there's certainly interest and there's certainly a market, but that is more experimental. Like yeah, Joe's going to do all the volume. But like, so we absolutely take that community approach of who will use this, and then go talk to them. Will you use this? Okay, here it is. Proof that you will use it. The card is a great example. So we launched a card product a couple of months ago, and it's basically the beta version. And the card is interesting because, so I said at the beginning, right? Trade, earn, spend. Spend, the way this card works is when you tap, and you can tap at 100 million global merchants worldwide. There's a Visa logo on it, so it's accepted places that Visa is accepted. But when you tap your phone, it's a virtual card. It pays at the register. Okay, payment done. But the money comes from a borrow position. So I've got collateral in HypurrFi, and when I pay, now USDT 0 is taken as a borrow. So it's on-chain. It's an on-chain position, which means I can deposit my Hype. I'm not selling my Hype, but I can still spend against it, and I can go earn later and pay that off. And that's like, it's an on-chain system. It is sick. It is absolutely cool. Now, it's a niche use case, and when we launched that, it's a tester, and it's been in beta for a little while. Actually, I think by the time this comes out, we will have launched the full card product. So the card is launched. I'm announcing, and you have to edit this if it's not. But we'll talk about that. But like the full release of the card, including points, should be out now. So go check on HypurrFi and check our channels for that. One of many announcements I'm going to do today for you to edit. But it is the reason we did it first, back to community, is will people actually use this? Is this something that people desire? And it turns out it's not for everybody that registers the card. It is for a niche chunk of users who sign up for the card, but those users absolutely spend, and they spend a lot because they don't want to sell, and they come to love the card and the way it works and how to manage it on chain. So we've identified and isolated, okay, this is absolutely worthwhile, a value add for our users that really want this feature.
No, 100%. So I'm also a user of HypurrFi card, for example, and it's a very similar play. And the way that I talked with Rob and with Mike way before they even launched the card, and I was actually in a podcast with Rock, like a year before the card thing, and he was telling me, Joao, we are planning to launch a bank and we are planning to do all these things. And I was like, dude, you are completely crazy. And he said, no, like this is the right thing because it's going to get bigger. And I was like, yeah, but I don't know if that's what the users want, right? But in the end of the day, the way that they did things was the card, as you said, is a niche product for a specific type of users. But then you build on top with more features, with more things, and then you create the ecosystem. And that's what HypurrFi is doing very, very well. So they did the card to maintain the users, and then they make more things to expand. So it's exactly the same type of play. So yeah, like I really like that. And one question that I really have for you is, you said that you have multiple products, multiple verticals. So can you go like one by one and explain to the audience what are all your products? Because you have, I think from my perspective, you are the most complete or more complex product on Hyperliquid right now. So if you can like describe all of the products, I think even for me, like I know your product, that maybe I don't know everything. So I think the audience would love to know all the details about what you guys are building, because maybe there is a feature that you have that I don't know and maybe I can use and I didn't even know. Yeah.
Pooled markets. Pooled markets let users deposit multiple assets as combined collateral and borrow from a shared liquidity pool. We talked about those. The pooled markets, they're an Aave V3 pool. You can come and bring Bitcoin, ETH, Hype, Staked Hype, K-Hype, B-Hype, and a bunch of stable coins as collateral, and you can borrow against that. Very clean, very straightforward. That's the kind of the core product we launched with. We also have our own CDP. So if you think about stablecoins, a CDP is a type of stablecoin. We call it a synthetic dollar for legal and compliance reasons, because it really is. It's not dollar pegged. It is a synthetic dollar based on debt. It is backed by USDT zero. As people buy it, there's a reserve backing. It's not fully backed. That's why it's not a stablecoin. It is a synthetic dollar, but it's pegged by debt to the protocol. So you can only mint USDXL based on your debt in the protocol in the pooled market. And when you repay that debt, you repay it at $1. So it functions as this really interesting debt rail currency. We're not trying to compete with Circle or Tether on that. It is specifically debt rails, and there's some really interesting use cases for that. In particular, if you need to know who your counterparty is, and they need to be like a company or KYB or somebody of that nature, and not just borrowing from anybody who happens to lend to the pool. But USDXL is there, and there's some really interesting LP pools, especially on Balancer, that are yielding great on that right now. We also have isolated markets and these risk islands. And the reason isolated markets are there is not just for tail assets, but they let you do some very interesting things, in particular with looping stablecoins and looping yield-bearing assets. And should I make the announcement now? Has the announcement gone out? Here's the risk. If I announce this and it gets delayed, you have to delay this whole podcast because it can't be announced. Are you okay with that?
Yeah, for sure.
So the isolated markets, as people have known them, these risk islands are being deprecated and replaced with Euler. We are have now announced, by the time this comes out, that we are the canonical Euler fork on Hyperliquid. In a complete partnership with Euler, we are the exclusive Euler fork, which creates these isolated markets with far more composability, multiple asset connections across different risk assets, and enables Euler earn vaults. So you'll see HypurrFi earn, which are earn vaults, which essentially you deposit stablecoins at first, or other sort of core assets, most likely USDC, USDH, and Hype at the beginning. And then curators are our markets, HypurrFi markets. We curate those to direct the best yield back to the depositor. But then other curators also can come and create their own earn vaults and run strategies. I'm not going to announce who those are yet because we're still in final stages of figuring out who that is. But a number of highly vetted curators that we're taking very great care to onboard and bring on to give people those opportunities. The Euler stack also includes Euler Swap, which enables this incredible efficiency on correlated asset pairs. Essentially, it's our own LP system that lets you get crazy deep liquidity, which reduces slippage. And so people who want to do swaps in these strategies, it's of interest to them to create and use their own LP position to do swaps. They'll get way lower fees, way better slippage, and the additional fees go back and pay into the assets that are lent. So you get more on your lending yield because now it's being used as LP as well. It's an incredible system.
50 times more capital efficient.
50 times more capital efficient. So you get the depth of a $2 million pool on a $200,000 pool. Easy. Yeah. That's only 10 times, but whatever the math is on that. So those are kind of our core products, right? There's the pooled lending, and then there's isolated Euler lending. And so HypurrFi Markets and HypurrFi Vaults are the big new release that we're very excited about. Okay, after that, what are we doing? Hold on, let me scroll down. We got the vaults, we got swap. We also have a swap aggregator on our site. So essentially, we're running through GlueX to give people the best swap aggregation. We also announced last week, by the time this comes out, last week, that I'm about to tweet this right now after this, is that we have removed our front-end swap fee on there. And so we don't take any fees on any swaps you run through HypurrFi. And so when you want to do some interesting products like a collateral swap, so if you have collateral in, I had TH-Bill in as collateral, and then a couple of days ago, I'm like, I think Hype is bottoming out. And so I swapped my collateral into Hype, and now I'm long Hype and instead of long TH-Bill. And so I could just do that, and it didn't change my position. It just improved my collateral because then Hype went up. I'd made a good trade right there. You can also do debt swap. And so if you spend on the card, which we'll come up to, it takes debt out in USDT 0, and you're paying 15% on that, like the rate just goes up. But you see another stable coin, let's say USDXL, has 10%. Well, I could just swap my debt into USDXL, and now I'm only paying 10% instead of 15%. And you don't have to run assets and do trades. It just auto swaps in the protocol logic. And now when I want to repay, I repay in that asset instead. We also have the card, the HypurrFi card, which I talked about. That runs through, if you're familiar, swipe.fun, it runs through those rails. And that'll be backed by Rain as well. So Rain is, the banking entity relationship through there. But it's a Visa card, and it's spend at 100 million merchants worldwide. And like I said, it takes debt directly from your HypurrFi position. We're also working with a number of projects on figuring out how we can help use their tech to launch their own cards. So that's just like a piece of kind of what we're doing.
So you are also doing like white labeling cards for other companies?
So that's not live yet, but like we're getting crazy inbound for it. And so there is demand from real users, people, projects that want a card and they want to figure out how to do it in this unique way. So it is a little different than the EtherFi card and how it works and the logic. So people are quite interested in that. Pokemon I'll get to in a minute, but we are launching a Perps Dex. So we call it Perps. It's codename PURRPS.
Keep it going.
This is a pretty big one, is as we found that our users are traders, many of them have just asked, just let me do HypurrFi in the Perps interface. And okay, so here's the Hyperliquid builder code Perps that includes all the Hyperliquid markets, spot markets, and HIP3. And here's lending integrated. So now if you have a position, you have your Hype as collateral in HypurrFi, you can take a borrow position of USDC and top up your position, or USDH if you're in a HIP-3 market. If you're getting close to a stop loss and you want to change that and add more margin, you can just take a borrow directly and run that. Or if you take some profit and you want to just run it right into an earn vault and earn whatever percent it is, 10, 20%, whatever it happens to be that day, well, now all of a sudden you're taking profit directly in interface, and that becomes a much more enhanced user experience. Card spend fits right into there too. Well, now I've got additional margin over here because it's collateral on HypurrFi. I can just go card spend, and our users as traders, they're thinking in these dynamic, complex finance webs. What trades do I have on right now? And where is my position holistically? And so we're enabling that. And that has been, again, a feature that many users have just directly asked for.
So, and all these features are inside the same website, the same eco, just like different buttons that you can plug in. Okay, perfect.
Yeah, and there's even more stuff that's coming. But if you think about what finance can be in Jeff's vision of the House of All Finance, like you can think about that as, well, what goes in this terminal, what's there. And there's some really, really cool features there, but that is in alpha right now. The beta is coming out, ideally Q4, but that may go to Q5.
If you think about the philosophy of the user base that we're targeting, I'll let Andy get into Pokemon in a second here, is if I'm a trader, like, why do I want to have to bridge off Hyperliquid to access my funds? Like, why do I want to go sell? Why do I want to do anything? Like, the most common flow that we want is someone that, let's just say we have our perp stacks up, that hits a good trade, right? They borrow against maybe existing positions, they put it back into our earn vaults and they're earning, and then they can go spend. Like, I hit a sick trade, let me go buy a car. Shout out Andy for the first purchase on the card being a car.
It was a payment, not a full buy.
I shill it as the car every time. But like, right, we have these users that we want to acquire, and like, they are just big time users, right? We have traders that are sitting at these desks at like these huge firms that on their off time, they come and trade on Hyperliquid. They have a ton of money and ton of professional or like experience trading these markets. And we want them to be able to not have to bridge off, right? They come in, they spend, they earn, they do whatever. It's really a one-stop shop. Shout out to Groot for giving me that terminology, but like, that is the philosophy. We don't want you to have to leave HypurrFi. We are building specifically for you. Stick with us and we'll build for you.
Perfect.
Along with the perp stacks comes HIP-3 markets. And so we are working with a number of projects on HIP-3 markets as well. So we have been a little less public about exactly what markets those are, but we are aiming to, for people who don't know, HIP-3 is permissionless perpetuals on Hyperliquid. But we are aiming to have different markets than what is currently offered. We focus on high volume markets that are interesting, in particular to traders and people with a financial background. Pokemon is an index of high value Pokemon cards and sets. And so when we think about what that is, so Pokemon itself is one of our products, but then the HIP-3 markets and other products that go along with that. We're currently, sorting out exactly structural details of HIP-3 because we believe that there are some structural advantages that you can take if you go slow and build things in a compliant manner. So making sure that the hype is not up for grabs by anybody and it doesn't wreck your markets and how that is all going to work. We're taking a very kind of slow approach to be very thoughtful so that we can build extremely long-term markets to protect investors and depositors and ourselves in all of that. But a lot of HIP-3 stuff coming along as well. So Pokemon is one of those. We've had demand for Pokemon perps. People want to go long on the value of Pokemon
Show
cards.
the Charizard.
And so we show it up.
Man,
Give me the PSA 10
I was showing the
again,
PSA
man.
10 Charizard right here, like there is one right here.
Dude.
For the audience, it's like, no, it's true. Like, and sorry to interrupt you, but I saw the other day a report, I think it was from JP Morgan, about the best assets to buy in the last year. And they show S&P 500 with up of about 5-ish%. Then you have gold with 10, 15, 20. Then you have BTC with like 50 plus. And then you have, I think it was a dark Charizard with like 1,000% up. So it's like, if you buy, JP Morgan is literally giving you financial advice to buy Charizard cards. Is literally saying, if you are into BTC and gold, you are into a Charizard. because you will make more money buying Charizard cards than buying BTC as of today. And this is the official report, So that is the insanity. And if we look at why, it's very simple. It's because it's a finite item, right? Everything that is unique or is finite as BTC, it is locked in as that value. When it's over, right? There is one specific number. It's like buying a painting, That's why, like, if you bought Van Gogh 200 years ago, there was one price. If you buy one as of today, it's 100 million per painting. Yeah, it's only one, of course. So it's the same type of philosophy. Yeah.
OG collectors with money are buying up supply too to help lock that supply up, and that is common. So when we saw this, right, the digital collectibles market and collectibles, trading card market is incredibly valuable. It's increasing in value in part because of its scarcity, locked up supply, especially on original assets. So when we looked at this, we got the same input. It's like, this is like gold. But gold is interesting too. Like if you look at gold, there's grades of gold too, right? There's grades of purity of gold. And so, okay, well, what is the standard? And it turns out that gold indices are really, really strong indicators, but getting an index is a little harder. Because I ain't going to buy a PSA 10 Charizard, man. I don't know when you bought that, but like I ain't buying that today. Is way out of my price range. But I still want exposure to that asset. So what I would really like is an index of Pokemon card value. So when we looked at that, we said, well, what's a good index of the gold standard of collectible trading card value, not just Pokemon? And the answer is Pokemon base sets. So Pokemon original base sets, like Season 1, 1999, only originals, first edition. And so that is what Pokemon is we are collecting those base sets. We are currently acquiring base sets, and we are working on a system so that others can deposit into a vault to participate and get access to a shared vault of base sets. And these are real collected physical base sets that are stored in a highly secure professional vault. So that it is like a curated experience for real assets. And then when those are locked in the vault, they convert into PKMN tokens. And so we're currently sorting out, like, how does that pre-deposit work? How does the acquisition work? How is it all structured legally? But the end result should be an index of Pokemon card value. Now, the reason for an index, like if it's this value of gold, well, then you can trade other things against it, and you can begin to price other sorts of trading cards, sets, editions, versions, grades, all against this. So, I do want to add, it's not only original base sets, it's only full sets of PSA 8, 9, and 10. So it's extremely highly graded and high value sets, so that we're not getting into what's the difference in price between one card in a PSA 2 and one card in a PSA 7. No.
No one cares about
just sticking
that.
to.
No one cares about that. Show me the tens, man. Show me the tens.
Yeah, and it'll wreck your market too, right? That'll wreck your index too if you start adding everything.
Yeah.
And so it's not every Pokemon card. And we know that there's these other high value Pokemon cards that came out 5-6 years ago. I can't remember the names of them, but like there's extremely high and rare cards that don't fit into the set. Well, pricing those against a base set turns out to be quite complicated. And so we're figuring out what is this core index first. And then what that does in the future is it allows you to use that potentially as a quote asset and do other trading card markets against it if these really do become liquid and highly valued. So this is a very long-term play in terms of the value of trading cards and building it as an index.
It's a very interesting one. And I remember when we in Argentina, and I was in stage with Kurt, and as soon as Kurt mentioned the Pokemon card play, we saw the audience was like,
all
wow,
the heads like locked
what
in.
is
They're
that?
like Pokemon cards.
No, but it was a really interesting reaction, because normally, especially our talk was very, very nerdy and very DeFi technical, was about perps on Hyperliquid, and it was a very technical talk. And everyone was just like taking notes and very quiet. But when you mentioned, we are doing something with Pokemon, people were like, whoa, wait a minute, what is this? I never heard about this. So I'll say that is a very interesting experiment, because people will try it out, even if it's just to try it out, because they are curious about it. It's a new product. I think no one ever done it before as you guys are doing it now. So I'm definitely very curious to see how is it going to play out. And I believe
there's
that
a ton of these great. There's a ton of these great sort of gotcha projects that are digitizing real trading cards and making them as NFTs, and you can buy and trade and do gotcha packs. And we've been in contact with a lot of them because they saw the ticker and they saw some of our, posts, and they're like, "Is this a competitor?" And we're not. We're not trying to do these solo cards and these values and these sort of games. This is an index, and actually we play along extremely nicely with all of these projects. Love them. Ripped Out Fun and Slab and like all this cool stuff that's been coming out. Because if you have this core priced index of this high value, well, then all of a sudden everything else has this really interesting benchmark value. And if I don't have enough, like I said, to get my, gold Charizard, whatever digital, I can still get access in my portfolio as a diversified asset. And that's, I don't need to trade perps on that. I can just stick it in a lending market. And there it is. And guess what? If it's in the lending market, what can you do? You can spend on it with the card. Now you can spend against your HypurrFi, your Charizard, right?
100%. And a lot of people have been talking more and more about how you have real world assets that are very highly valued in the market, and you should be using those as the collateral to do trading and to do whatever you want. Like if you have expensive painting, if you have an expensive Rolex or a Patek or a Charizard, you should be able to use it as collateral to whatever you want to do in the financial world. So, and I see crypto as a gateway to do that.
And you can now, right? But they're private credit markets, and they're only accessible to people who are well connected, who have other collateral, so that they know that this isn't the only asset they have. It's not available for everyone. And maybe you're a collector and you started out as a kid and you're brokey like me, but you still have this high value card and you don't know what to do with it. Are you going to sell it? Well, you're going to sell the one thing, right? I look at PFPs. I look at these high value NFTs and like, I could only afford one Hyper. Like, that'd be like scraping stuff together. I'm just telling people my net worth, but like, I'd be scraping stuff together. I'd be spending my kids' college fund. And so like, I could buy it and maybe it'll go up in value, but guess what? I can't sell it because like, I'm so locked in here. So I can't even get one, right? And so what do you do if you're in that position? Well, you can get fractionalized exposure and you can go long in it and you can lever up on it, because now if you can borrow against it, you could actually lever up on that too. And if you really have a good thesis and insight and a good model, you can make more money with that. You can multiply that money that you have and continue to accelerate your position, expand your position in a thesis that you know is right. So yes, that's exactly what it is opening financial access. It's still that core vision of crypto.
If you're listening to this and you're wondering how can I get involved with Pokemon, right? If you're a retail user and you want to get access, right? Just follow our social channels. Make sure that you're looking out for anything with the Pokemon ticker on it, PKMN. We have bought that ticker. That is us. If you are a collector that has PSA 9, 10, or 8 full base sets and you want to deposit them with us to get involved, we are probably going to be offering some additional incentives to early depositors of these vaults that are offering these huge sets, right? So please contact us, reach out, like be aware, follow our channels, because this is something we are moving on.
If I have a collection, I can give it to you for you to collateralize, or how does it work?
You don't give it to us. You put it with the vault, and it stays in this highly secure airlocked vault and whatever. But then we have a partner that maintains record and runs that, and it's like audited as regular. It's like highly secure. That's why it's taken so long. It's like we're just making sure the pieces are together so that legally you know exactly where your assets are.
Where is the vault located? Which state? I know that there are a couple spread out.
New Jersey.
Okay, got it. No, yeah. That's
so
nice.
Well. So we're sorting if it's the PSA vault or there's one next door to it as well. So like it's these highly known vaults.
Nice.
But
guys,
actually,
we are
the best
so
thing you can
do already.
Sorry.
I have one final question. That I always ask to everyone that I do these interviews is, if you think that we are in a bull or bear market, and what is your price prediction for Hype? And this is an individual question. So I want to hear Kurt, I want to hear Andy. My perspective right now is that we are in a completely different market. We are not into a cycle market anymore because it's a political market, right? Everything that you see on Twitter influences the market. I don't think we are in a bull or bear. I think we are in a very political, macro type of market, but that's my perspective. So I would love to hear yours.
All right. So, I mean, I get paid to be a bull. So I'm going bull. I think we're in a bull market. We're not going down. And, I don't think I have the $2,000 hype prediction that the Nest guys do, but like I'm like the $800 a point. The $800 a point is what we're going for. So I think, truthfully, like we're all here for 3-digit hype. We know it's happening, right? Like at the rate everything's going and the improvements we're seeing from the teams, like I'm shooting, let's say we'll shoot for the stars here. We'll go like $250 by the end of 2026. Let's hit that. That's my price prediction.
Love that. Andy,
FUD,
what's yours?
Absolute FUD. Listen to this. Claiming to be a bull and then coming out on absolute FUD. I think you're right. It's neither a bull nor a bear. It's a Trump market, and which is the same thing as you said. But the way the macro structure is, it's meant to be volatile, and so it's really hard to determine an overall pattern. But a crab market, as long as it's volatile, actually is really valuable. That's not something I'm going to trade up because I will get chopped up to death. But that is a great place for stablecoin yield, and that is a great place for asset yield, and to let the traders make and lose their money and earn on that. So I think it is a volatile market, which volatility is a product as well. But overall, I think it trends bullish. I'm still pretty bullish. Just very different indicators this cycle than the past couple I've seen, especially when the bottoms dropped out of those, is bottom has not dropped out. And if it does and something catastrophic happens with DATs, I will be shocked. I will be very surprised. But I suppose that is the case with many bear markets, as they do shock you. So that said, I do think we're bullish, but choppy.
Okay. And what is your price prediction for hype?
So I was there when I watched BNB launch and go up to $200 and then down to $8. It was like $4, and then it went up to 1,800 or whatever it was. So I think hype 13. What? All right, look at this. I don't think hype sees that, but we saw the same thing with Solana, where in a real dip when people left and there was a genuine bear market, prices got very low, and I don't think we're there. I think it could go lower, but I do think we were in a bull and that the uptrend could be really significant, and I think $300, $400, $500 a hype would be not out of the question, and people would be insane. And if that happens, just be aware, watch your timeline, make sure that you are using the financial tools and not only levered up. It would be my suggestion. Just been around for a while.
Last one is really, I know that you already talked a little bit about the future of HypurrFi and a couple products. If you can just maybe shout out a couple of the new alpha, new products in the last 2-3 minutes for the audience, like what can the audience expect in the next 1, 2, 3 months that you guys are launching, and then we wrap it up.
Well, one thing that people will not expect from us is our fundraising round. And so once you start to see our announced backers, top venture with really long time horizons, extremely great partners, Euler, as I mentioned earlier, but others as well, is we're not some random team that got together and threw together a DeFi protocol. So you can expect a lot more very interesting partnerships as well. Thinking about what time this will come out and what I can say. The full card release should be out. The Euler release will have a ton more to it. So as more curators come on and as more significant depositors and lenders come and borrowers come on, I think people will see some names that they do not expect joining the Hyperliquid ecosystem, or maybe that have been in the Hyperliquid ecosystem that you didn't know already. So that's what I would keep an eye out for, is we're building for a very long time horizon. And so use the tools when they make sense to you. If it doesn't make sense, it's confusing, don't use it. Find something else. There's something for everybody there. But use the tools there. The other thing I do want to plug is Pokemon's a great example. If you care about one of these things and you want to see more of it, or you have feedback, join the Telegram. Talk about it every day. Like, people talk about Pokemon in our Telegram every day. Our founder's in there. We're in there. Like, we chat and engage. We will see that. And that does help us understand what comes next. How do we prioritize? So please, that user feedback, that is critically important to us. The last little bit I'll get is we are very AI enabled, and we are very in tune with what AI can bring to traders, to trading, to positioning. And so as we look to the future, and we take a look at our products, we think about, well, what are ways that we can enable traders and financial users with these tools? So that's something else. There's a little nudge there.
Perfect. Guys, thank you so much for doing this mega extended episode on Hyperliquid, HypurrFi, collectibles.
You can't shut us up, man.
It's already one of my favorite episodes, if not my favorite episode right now. So we have been recording so many, every day. I'm right now recording. I'm recording with pretty much all the Hyperliquid companies that exist out there, traders, everyone. So guys listening here, so always bring you the best hot takes here with GigaBrain. Thank you so much, Andy. Thank you so much, Kurt, for this amazing interview, and very excited to see the future. And we'll keep going super bullish, So collectibles on Hyperliquid, lending, borrowing, everything. We are moving. I love that. Guys, thank you so much, and I'll see you.
Thank you, Joao.
In
Thanks for
the
having
next
us.
one. Cheers.
Keep viewing.
GigaBrain is brought to you by Swell Labs. To find out more about Swell, go to swellnetwork.io and make sure to search for GigaBrain in Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts. Hit the follow button so you don't miss any future episodes. Thanks for listening.